Alright guys, Fuller coming to you with another video. Shout outs to the whole LDBC. If you like this video, please feel free to like the video. And if you like the content of this page, feel free to subscribe to the page. You don't have to subscribe to the page. It's always by choice, never by force. But hey, if you feel some type of way, subscribe, hit the notification bell icon if you like the content on the page. So, I'm going to do probably after this video, probably do either another boxing video to see the boxing happenings, because honestly, man, there ain't nothing really happening in boxing. There's been a couple of top ranked cards, but that's pretty much it. We always hear about fights, being talked about, but nothing has really been put into paper yet. Okay. In fact, as a matter of fact, you're hearing just all kinds of murmurs. Not the latest murmur is Canelo versus Chris Eubanks Jr. But that's not what we're here for today. Disclaimer. Let me just tell you. Let me just break it down to you real quick. The reason why I am so infatuated with the Cuban experience, the history of the country itself, actually having been to the country. The reason why I'm infatuated with like these radical states like Eritrea, Cuba, Venezuela, at one time Grenada, my turf of Guinea-Bissau, Cape Verde, Burkina Faso, these kind of places, because at one time or another, or currently, they were radicals and they went against the grain in order to realize something far bigger than could have been ever thought of for their continental area that they are placed in. So the Cuban Revolution and the Cuban experience and the Cuban history sticks to me because I feel it's an extension of me. Me being a Tororbe, like, unfortunately, because of the slave trade, you have, various African groups sent to Cuba. I can go on and on. Hausas, Yorubas, Fulbe, Tukulor, Mandinka, Sirer, Ashantis, groups from the Congo, groups from Angola, right? So when I see them, like an African descendant Cuban, I just see an extension of me that basically just, was a victim whose ancestors, were a victim of a cruel practice, But let's talk about why today we have to honor who we're honoring today. Today is the birthday of a black Cuban general. And if you thought I was just interested in Antonio Maceo, I'm interested in all the black regiment that took place in the fight for Cuban independence. Okay? A lot of people, and this is one of the reasons why I'm interested, a lot of people will say that, these blacks that were in this army were just strong men, were just known for their physical improved strength, but they were very much thinkers. And the individual today that we're honoring fits that mold. And his name is Guillermo Moncada, or Moncada. Yeah, Moncada. Now, Jose Guillermo Moncada was born on this day, 1847. And he was born in Santiago de Cuba. And in the place in which he was born, in the district of Santiago de Cuba that he was born in, called Los Hoyos, Los Hoyos was known to be a center of maroonage, to be a center of black rebellion. So he was kind of ingrained with that from the jump. Now, by trade, he was a carpenter. Okay, he cut wood, things like that. Had a humble, basically a humble beginning, trying to make what he can. And the thing about it is that, very much so, even though he was a carpenter, he was still I guess you can say a disenfranchised, a marginalized element of society due to the simple fact that he was African descendant. Now, he was so committed to family values that he wanted to build his mother a house. But because the call of insurrection came, he didn't have time to do that. You know what I mean? So the fact that, he showed that commitment, that what he wanted to do first was to build his mother a house, shows how, what kind of man he is. So then he decides, first under Maximo Gomez, and the crazy thing about Maximo Gomez, he was a Dominican descendant mulatto. You know what I mean? That's the crazy fact of the matter. Like, even him, that they portray as this Caucasian man, even he was a mulatto, and, he got involved in the fight for Cuban liberation. And I think the fight was against, I don't know his name, I think his name was Jose Cifuentes or something like that. But the fact of the matter is that he was fighting not only for the liberation of Cuba, but for the emancipation of his people too, of the African element of Cuba. That's what he was fighting for. Okay? Now, one thing that sticks out is, although he was a thinker, although he thought before he said words and was a strategist, you have to be kind of a strategist to engage in the military skirmishes he did. I think he fought in like 50 military skirmishes. Now, one thing about him, which leads me to the hypothesis that perhaps maybe he's descended from Mandingas just because of his physical stature. They said that he had a very, very big physical stature, that he was very, very muscular and he was big. You know what I mean? And like big meaning tall. You know what I mean? And so, just looking at the pictures and looking at how they illustrate him, I would think that, if I were a betting man, that he was either like a descendant of maybe a Mandinka or a Hausa, since, for the most part, the Muslim element in the Muslim element was pretty much the thing that sparks most slave revolts. As a matter of fact, the first slave revolt was done by some Senegalese Muslims in the Dominican Republic. So they were pretty rebellious. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking that, in that spirit of rebellion, he fell into that category, And so, he progressed. He rose in ranks to general. You know what I mean? And like Antonio Maceo, okay? Because they did this with Antonio Maceo. The Spanish and certain elements of the Cuban Liberation Army made accusations that Moncada was trying to turn Cuba into another Haiti. The thing about the black troops, for the most part, most of them looked at the fight as Cubans. You know, Cubans first, color second. However, much like now with certain countries, the Western propaganda machine made people think otherwise, right? And so not only was he accused of, wanting another Haiti in Cuba, but he was also accused of having like a harem of mulatto women that he would take advantage of. And so these accusations are false. I'm not saying that maybe he didn't smash a lot of women during his time, because I'm going to tell you something. Even Antonio Maceo, he was a pimp. He was married, but he had side chicks galore. And so that's probably the case with Moncada. He probably had many side chicks. He's front line with it. So maybe he just felt better having side chicks than having a wife. You never know. But I know he didn't take advantage of no women. Because here's the thing that happened. This is the one thing that happened. As a result of the Haitian Revolution, the French crop, their cash crop of sugar, was basically desecrated by that revolution. Okay? And because of that, you had a lot of French, plantation owners now migrate to Cuba for the simple fact that, hey, the sugar crop is still there. We can just start where what we started before. That usually was the case most of the time, right? So with that being the case, the Cuban elite, the ones who are usually of Spanish descent, those elements, Spain, basically Spain. They saw all these French people come in. They're like, yo, why they coming? You know what I mean? And so that's what they really feared. Although it wasn't the truth when you asked the troops, what their aspirations were. All their aspirations was a free, liberated Cuba of the Spanish colonialism. That's it. It wasn't just to have like a black republic. It wasn't a takeover in some kind of black supremacist way. None of that. So you had this happen, and with that happening, he didn't have to deflect, but he had to just show that, the fight is about, Cuba first. Of course, as I said before, he wanted his rights. He definitely wanted his rights. But at the same time, the national cause was the key factor. Now, throughout his skirmishes, much like Antonio Maceo, he got injured, but he still fought. He was still front line with his, And so, when I look at this, and this bravery, and how they're front line with it, it just kind of really puts something in me. You know what I mean? It really makes me look at, what it kind of makes me look at? when I read about these stories of, like, these Haitians, these Cubans doing who are of African descent doing things like this or frontline with it, it makes me it makes me really think, like, wow, bro, like, man, this is heavy stuff, man. Their fight is the fight we're fighting right now. You know, they were fighting colonialism, we fighting neo-colonialism. And there was no fear in their bones. That's the thing about it. And so that spirit kind of just, I guess, transfers to me, you know, because when I look in their eyes, I see my eyes too, man. And so, unfortunately, I was too late to make. Well, let me finish with Moncada before I segue into what else I wanted to say. Now, Moncada, they did capture him. They put him in jail in inhumane conditions in the jail, and as a result of that, he got, I want to say he got tuberculosis. And I think at the time of his last campaign, he was like 50 something years old, but he died of the tuberculosis, But 21 gun salute for Jose Guillermo Moncada. And back to what I wanted to say, to be honest, I wanted to make a cake for him or Antonio Maceo in their honor. And I wanted to put their picture on it, I want to have the cake with a picture on it. But seeing that my C-Day is next month, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the picture, I'm going to just do one of them for next month to celebrate them and also celebrate me making it to a next month, if I do make it to a next month, because you never know what can happen in one day. I leave my house every day saying that today I could die, you know what I mean, because of the simple fact of the environment we live in, And so, with that being said, salute to one of the ancestors. Salute to him for being a stand-up dude. Salute to him for putting that vigor, that rebel, that rebellion. And all I gotta say about it is that I'm gonna continue my reading on the whole Cuban experience. You would think that I would be done reading about Cuba because I've been there already, but now I'm like still hungry for more, hungry for more literature on Cuba, hungry for more literature on Venezuela, hungry for more literature on the Caribbean, like histories and stuff like that. And with these histories, this is what I learned. With these histories, you take lessons. You take these lessons, you take these nuggets, you take these diamonds, and you apply it to your reality. You know what I mean? You apply it to your life. And so this is one thing that I like to do, in my experience. For me, it's about reading, but it's also about applying, And I pray that I apply everything constructive that I have read to the mission, you know what I mean? To the mission at hand. And with that being said, I'm just going to sign out. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments. And those who tune in, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. You know what I mean? My bad if I'm long-winded. I'm still getting better at it. But yeah, man, shout out to Guillermo Moncada, man. One of my heroes, I'm going to tell you something. My heroes don't exist in United States history books or European history books. They mostly exist in African and, African descendant history books, He's one of them. And yeah, I mean, I would like to find, I haven't found any books about him. You know, there is one book that I will probably start reading after I read this book that I'm reading right now, that has like a little bit of a portion about him, but it doesn't really have a lot. You know what I mean? So I'll probably read it soon. But with that being said, leave your thoughts, leave your comments, and I'll catch you on the next one. Full of signing out. Njadama.